Hello everyone, it's me, and today we're gonna do some cooking. Kind of, but totally we're doing cooking. What I'm going to do today is show you how to make a beautiful flaky pie crust, which, I think knowing how to make a pie crust is is like being next to God, because if you can make great pie crusts, people are going to love you, and it's going to open your world so much because people are going to say, bring us a pie. And you totally can. So, actually, what I am doing this for is I'm actually going to make a pot pie. So I'm not adding sugar to it, but if you were making any other kind of like sweet pie, I would go ahead and add a little sugar. But for this recipe, I'm just kind of going to leave the sugar out, and I'm going to make the same recipe for my pastry that I have done for the past whole long time. So let's get on into this. And for this, I'm actually going to be using some flour. This is a nice brand new bag, 5 pounds. I got this at Ralph's for $2.50, and you can do so many great things with flour. I also have this flour that I've put in a bag because the original bag that it came in ripped, and I don't want flour all over everything. Also, I would like to get some really big glass canisters to put my flour in so I can feel really fancy about myself. So you're gonna need some salt, and of course, you're gonna need some delicious butter. And that is exactly what we are going to do today. So I'm gonna set this all up. I'm gonna get my food processor out because it makes pastry like that. But I do prefer to use my hands, and you can always use your hands if you do not have a food processor. So I'm gonna get all this stuff out, and we're gonna whip it together, and I'm gonna show you just how easy, so simple it is to make pie pastry. You're gonna love it, so stick around. If you are worried about getting flour, who the hell is at my door? Okay, it wasn't anybody. If you are worried about getting flour on yourself, which is a very big possibility, all you have to do is take a towel and wrap it across yourself like this, and then take a clip and just, let me see. Yeah, just like that. And you are not going to get any flour at all. Plus, if it's a cool day out, you're gonna stay warm. So enjoy that tip. And I don't really care about this outfit, so bring on the flour. I have already added 4.5 cups of flour and 1.5 tablespoons of salt. We just take this like this, and we kind of mix this together just to incorporate it. Although, if you're using a food processor, you don't really have to sift it or do anything like this, because you can just pulse it a couple of times and it's pretty much all together. Of course, this would go better if you're using a whisk, but I didn't think to go get one, and it's right over there. I just don't want to do it. And we're all combined. Totally great. I'll be right back when I hook up this food processor. So what I'm going to do is take about half of the flour mixture and just put it into my food processor just like this. Now what you want to do is take your stick butter, and this will probably take, with the 4.5 cups of flour, it will probably take 2.5 to 3 sticks of butter. I know it's a lot, but what are you gonna do? So I like to lay my butter on a plate, and this is my whooshed off knife, and I love this knife. I just take this and I cut the butter into smaller chunks. You want like, I'd say a little larger than pea-sized pieces. Let me just try to show you what I mean by that. It's kind of a little messy, but I'm gonna show you a tip in just a second. I want them about this big, okay? And then just kind of put it into your flour once you do that. Now, if you are making this by hand, which is totally possible, and it's my favorite way to actually do it, because butter can be really messy to cut, and I have washed my hands, by the way, is after every cut I make, I go ahead and dip the butter into flour, just like this, and then it really doesn't stick as much. It kind of sticks to the knife, but it doesn't stick to itself, which is really good. And then you just put that in there. So I'm gonna cut up all this butter, and then we are gonna add it to the flour. And once we get all that together, we're gonna what's that called? Pulse it. And then, oops, sorry for doing that. I didn't mean it that way. And then we are going to add this water. And this is very cold ice water. You're not gonna need all this at all. Maybe like a couple of tablespoons tops. But I'm gonna finish this butter and I'll be right back. Okay, now that we have our butter cut up, and it's going to take a lot more than this, probably this is 1 stick, so it'll probably take 1.5 more sticks, so total 2.5 at the minimum. So I'm just going to add this to the flour and then cut up another one off camera. And I kind of try to get it, you know, evenly dispersed so it's just not all in one space. It just seems to make things a lot easier for me. And then kind of just stir it just slightly. And now I'm going to cut up the other sticks and I'll be right back. Now you just want to push this pulse button until it kind of resembles wet sand. So let's do that. Let's see. I like to kind of feel it. You want to, if you pick some up and you squeeze it, you want it to keep its shape, but then kind of fall apart like this. And this actually feels quite nice. So I think that this is a total success. I'm going to just kind of go around the edges just to make sure it's all combined. Going to take our water and you just pour just a very, very small amount. And when you're making this, you do want to be as quick as possible because you want it to be very, very cold to maintain the butter, because when you put it into the hot oven, the butter kind of turns to steam, and that's what makes it very flaky. So here we go. Just a little bit, just like this, because we can always add more. Now, just pulse it. And this, perfect. So I'm gonna get this out and I will be right back. Okay, so I have laid out some wax paper and I'm just going to take our mixture, put your finger in the bottom of the blade, and just turn this out onto the wax paper, just like this. And now it's a matter of just forming this into a kind of ball just so it stays together. You want to touch it as little as possible, not to create heat. So I kind of just do this. You really don't want to overwork it. So once you have it in a nice disc shape, I take some more wax paper and I wrap it like this, and then I put it on a plate and put it in the fridge for at least 15 to 20 minutes. Now, if you are making this by hand, it's really the same way as before. You just want to cut your butter just like this into nice little pieces so it's evenly dispersed. And once you have all that done, you take your flour and you just put that in. Now our butter is in this bowl, so remember, do not add the water until the very end because you want this to be very dry. What I do, and you can certainly use like a pastry cutter, I just prefer to use my hands because that's just how I've always done it. I pick up some flour in my hands and I do this. So what you're doing is kind of just milling it rather than picking it up and squeezing it. So you keep doing this just to make those butter pieces very small. I've mixed that, and you can just pick up a piece, squeeze it. It keeps its shape, but it's crumbly. So that's how you know that it's done. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of water, just like that. Not too much, and then I just stir it until it kind of comes together. Sometimes you might have to put your hands back in there, but I don't think we will today. Add a little bit more. Okay, that is good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to turn this over onto the wax paper, form a disc, and then refrigerate, just like we did with the previous one. This recipe will make two, I want to say this is 9-inch pies with a top. So if you don't want to make a pie with a top, it will actually make 4. So if you're wanting less than that, just cut it in half, you know, use your mind. But I will say that when you're making a pie and you've got all the stuff going and you're doing it all already, it's much easier to go ahead and make more than one at the same time because you're already doing it. And with that extra pie, you can go ahead and freeze it for another day, or you can make it and give it to a friend or neighbor who might really appreciate it, because I think pies are so cool. So what I'm gonna do while that is chilling, we still have to roll it out. I'm gonna go drink a cup of coffee and I'm gonna fix my makeup, and I'm gonna come back and we're gonna roll that dough out, and it's gonna be fun. And it has been about 30 minutes that this has been in the fridge. I have just removed it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to unwrap it like this, and this is our pie dough. I'm going to cut like a little more than a third, just like this. And this I'm going to put back into the refrigerator, and we are going to use that for our top, and this will be the base. So I'm gonna put that over there and we're gonna roll it out. Then take our dough, which I've reformed back into a disc, take our rolling pin and kind of just push it down a little. Just like this. I would say you want this to be about 1/4 of an inch thick. So I'm just gonna keep rolling this out until it's the right thickness. Okay, and this is about right. And here's my pan, and if you put it on your dough, you can see that there's some edges. We might have to do a little tweaking and kind of like putting pieces together, but it's all gonna work out. And because, well, I should say, if you don't have a rolling pin, you can always use a bottle or a glass, you know, anything that's just circular like a rolling pin. Now, because we have rolled this on some wax paper, we can easily pick it up and transfer it to our pan like this. So I'm gonna do that. Now I just kind of push on this just to make sure all the air is out. And as you can see right here, it doesn't quite go to the top. So I will take some of this extra dough that's hanging off and just place it right there like this. Now I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to kind of cut the excess off, but I'm leaving just enough to where I will have an overhang to attach the top dough to once I'm ready for that. And I'm going to roll that out later after I get the filling all done. You just kind of go around like this. Kind of neaten it up. Okay. And there you go. You put this back into the fridge for probably 10-15 minutes just to let the butter chill down again. Now this is just my filling. It has vegetables and carrots, potatoes, peas, and a nice vegetable gravy. So what you do is you take your top and you lay it on top just like this. You peel it off, and then I just go around and kind of just press on the edges just like this. And you can use a fork to crimp them, or if you make it a little bit bigger than I did, you can actually go around and push like this to make a nice design. But today I'm not feeling it, so there you go. So I know that this lamp is like totally out of place in the kitchen, but I have to fix it because it's mid-century and I love it. But the wiring has gone, so I have to rewire that lamp, and I put it right here just so I can remember. But obviously I keep forgetting, and this right here is it's an art thing that I made a long time ago. So that is pretty much all there is to making a pie crust from scratch. It's actually super simple. It's just, sometimes people think, oh, it's very difficult, but it's actually not. It's simple and it goes like that. I promise. It's just a lot of chilling. You know, you have to chill it a lot because you want the butter to remain butter and not melt. So when you actually do bake it in your hot oven, it steams and you get all of those beautiful, delicious, flaky layers. I do want to note that if you are making a pudding pie or a strawberry pie or something, a pie where you aren't baking the filling in the pie crust itself, you will want to bake the pie pastry separate, and this is called blind baking. What you do is you pierce it with a fork just to make little dots for where it can expel some extra steam. Otherwise, it's gonna puff up, and you're not gonna want that. So make the holes, or you can cover it in not wax paper like I've been using, but parchment paper. And on top of that, you can add some pie weights or dry beans. A friend of mine actually uses some of those glass floral pebbles from the Dollar Tree, so you can try that and it works. You don't have to make the little dots with your fork. But I would say if you're making a pie where you don't have to bake the filling in it, bake the pie crust completely at 350 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes or until it is golden brown. However, and I've got some notes here, now if you're baking your pie with the filling in it, such as like a pecan pie or a pot pie or pumpkin pie, what you do is you just follow the directions listed in your recipe for how long you bake it. It's really like up to the recipe, but I would say once it's golden brown, that thing is good. Now you saw the size of my pan for the pot pie that I'm making, which I'm not going to include the recipe in this because it's just complicated, and after this video I'm just so tired, you guys. But I would say it's like a 9-inch round pan. What I would do is I'm going to bake it for about 45 minutes to an hour or until it's golden brown. And if you like your pastry really golden and beautiful and glistening, go ahead and beat up an egg and just... That's all that I have for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will insert a photograph of the finished baked pot pie right here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.